What's up, y'all? I am Marcus, and welcome back to Yahar'gul FM. We are going to jump straight into the lore today, and we're going to take down a boss later in the episode. But first, the Inflicted Organ. The Inflicted Organ is special body parts collected by the Healing Church. What was this gruesome bait used to lure? The additional rite, rotted offering, beckons ungodly forces, normally terrifying things, but also worthy prey for a special hunt. And we also picked up this living strain, which we got by killing the brain of Mensis. The immense brain that Mensis retrieved from the nightmare was indeed lined with eyes on the inside, but they were of an evil sort, and the brain itself was terribly rotten. But even still, it was a legitimate great one, and left a relic. A living relic at that, which is a precious thing indeed. Alright, we got this living relic from the brain of Mensis, and it's confirmed several things. First of all, Mensis was right. They could actually contact the old ones from this nightmare, this dream, and they successfully did so. Second, Willem was right about lining the inside of your brain with eyeballs, or rather, he was correct that the Great Ones exist in such a way. They have brains lined with eyeballs. Now, whether or not that means that that's what we need in order to evolve to become Great Ones ourselves, we'll see. But that's what he believed, and that seems to be confirmed to be true. It also confirms for us, as we get our plus 10 here, I think we're going to go with the Rider Pelage. As a matter of fact, I'm sure we're going to go with the Rider Pelage because it's doing a really good job for us, and will continue to do so. Everything, like Willem's belief in lining your brain with eyeballs, Mensis was correct about being able to contact the old ones, or not the old ones, the Great Ones, but some of the Great Ones are evil. Like, maybe some of them are good. It says they're sympathetic in spirit, and that they tend to respond when called upon. Like, we've seen that lore already. But some of them aren't good. And it seems like a lot of them, whether they're good or bad, interactions with humans tends to end in tragedy for the humans. So today, while we're going through the final part of Mergo's Loft here in the Nightmare of Mensis, I want to kind of do a story recap, kind of the basic lore that we've gotten so far. And we'll begin that right after we notice these shadows of Yahar'gul. These guys were a boss in the woods outside of Byrgenwerth. Now, we know that they are related to the Queen of Blood. But the thing about that is there are actually a couple of different characters within the Bloodborne lore that could be considered the Queen of Blood. We've already met Annalise, and these guys do wield Chikage, which makes you kind of feel like, well, maybe there's a Cainhurst connection, maybe that's the queen that they're talking about, and it could be. But we're actually going to see another Queen of Blood later in this episode, so yeah. Not entirely sure on that. But putting that aside for now, story recap of what we've got so far. First and kind of most important basic concept for us as the player is that we are a hunter. Now, how did we become a hunter? Well, we signed a contract at the beginning of the game in order to receive a blood transfusion, a transfusion of Yhar'gulite blood. So some people are going to believe that's the reason why we're a hunter, because of that contract that we've signed. But we've seen hunters that they're called retired, or we see Eileen, she's a hunter of hunters. She used to take part in the dream, we believe. At least it seems like she did, because she knows about the doll. Tell the little dolly I said hello. And then there is Djura, who is a retired hunter as well. So it seems like you can renounce your vows, you can renounce your contract. But the other aspect of that is that we have this rune etched into our brain. Now, was it done by the messengers at the beginning of the game? Or is it done as a result of this blood transfusion that we received? Can't really say. But it's basically the word of the Great Ones, the word that stands for hunter. So what is a hunter's role? Well, hunters hunt beasts, or at least so saith the church. The Healing Church has recruited people to work as hunters to hunt beasts to protect the town. At least that's what they're saying. You're going to go out, you're going to kill beasts so that you can save innocent lives and end the night of the hunt and get rid of these beasts to protect the town. You're literally hunting beasts so that they don't kill people. That's the surface level story. I love this part of the level. This little hidden watery path to the side. The large moon above. I love this part of the level. We also know that the hunt is over, or at least in the past, the hunt was over when the church says it's over. So there's that too. But what we're actually doing, we're actually hunting more than just beasts. What we need to do, we need to put a stop to the nightmare. That's what our contract is for. Our contract is for us to put a stop to the nightmare, to put an end to the night of the hunt. Which leads us to the question, what is the hunt? What is the night of the hunt? What causes the night of the hunt? And you're kind of looking at it over there. It's the moon. When the moon draws near, nightmares appear. Great ones. They're really great ones appear, and we need to stop them. So on this night, of all nights, the moon is being beckoned especially close to the world. I was intending to do a backstab there in case you couldn't guess. I was pushing R1, R2, I was gonna charge up a backstab, but I forgot I was transformed, so I shot him in the back. But the school of Mensis is performing these rituals to beckon the moon close, and it's making for a very long night and a very difficult hunt. What they're doing, they're using a newborn's baby cry to beckon the moon, and in what appears to be an attempt to ascend and become great ones themselves. Perhaps they are the ones who left that note in the Nightmare Lecture Hall where they said, evolution without courage will be the ruin of our race. They don't believe in just using blood to try to evolve. Instead, you need contact with a great one, and maybe you need eyes inside your head. Insight. Some other things, we've seen that you can get these umbilical cords as well, and it's also known as the cord of the eye, and that may be the way in which they are attempting to get eyes inside their head, and we'll see a little bit more of that later in this episode. But it's also worth noting as these pigs wreck these shadows of Yahar'gul, and also the freaky eyeballs all over those damn pigs too, but it's worth noting that the newborn baby that they use to beckon the moon close, to beckon to the great ones, it's not just any baby will do. This is something that Miyazaki-san himself was very quick to point out in the guide interview. He said not just any baby's going to do, special babies, certain babies. And to me it seems like it's dependent on the baby's bloodline. But making matters kind of worse for us is that even though we've put a stop to this ritual, even though we stopped their ritual in reality, in the real world, the School of Mensis is actually succeeding in continuing to make contact and beckon to the Great Ones from within this dream, from within this, what has become a nightmare, the Nightmare of Mensis. And that's where we start getting back to Mikolash's dialogue as we pick up some really cool items here. I'm just gonna run back and show you. This is the path that we saw earlier before we hopped down. We hopped down and took the watery path around instead of having to deal with these pigs. And then you can use the pigs to kill those shadows of Yahar'gul, because that 4 Yahar'gul group with the 2 pigs, it can be nasty if you're not careful. But that gem right there, that nourishing damp blood gem, very good. Very, very useful. Very, very useful. Very, very good indeed. 15% attack up. That's all attack, not just physical. Really good. But getting back to Mikolash's dialogue, Kaz, or some say Kazum, that may in fact be the name of the moon or at least a great one presiding on the quote-unquote moon. I'm not even convinced that this is a real moon. Like, more like when they say, might not the cosmos be right over our heads? Maybe this is something much closer than an actual moon. And here, this woman weeping up in the direction of the cathedral here, she is possibly the other Queen of Blood. In fact, and this is a little bit of a Chalice Dungeon spoiler, but this is Yahar'gul, the Pthumerian Queen. She is Pthumerian. You can look at her face and tell that she doesn't quite look human. But not only that, when you examine her more closely, you're going to see that her hands are bound and that she's bleeding from her stomach as if a child has been ripped from her womb. And if you reflect back to what the Dark Beast said in the Forbidden Woods, it's the curse of Yahar'gul. I said at that time that it might not mean what you think it means. It may not be the city of Yahar'gul, it may be the Queen Yahar'gul. Here we find another Iosefka's blood vial. Don't ask me the lore significance of this, because this is the one thing in the game. Like, I don't know if they put this here for a gameplay significance purpose, because it is that one large free heal that you can take with you into the end bosses of the game. Or if it is intended to have lore significance, I'm not sure. But we're going to unlock this very important shortcut. If you're having trouble with Mergo's Wet Nurse, this very easy to find, obvious shortcut is your best bet. But so we see Yahar'gul, the Pthumerian Queen, weeping in the direction of Mergo's loft. So it seems very likely to me that Mergo was her child, or, well, has a connection to her child, let me put it like that. And in fact, perhaps her child was used as bait to lure the Great Ones in the first place.
Farewell.
We'll get more into Yahar'gul's role, though. There's a lot more to say. There's a lot of different angles to interpret that from. We'll get into that when we actually encounter more lore about her in the Chalice Dungeons. But for now, we see this vision of her weeping, and we hear the baby's cry. Going back to us as hunters, for us to succeed as a hunter and fulfill our contract, we must silence the terrorized cry of the newborn to end the nightmare. This is what is luring the Great Ones close. This is what is causing the nightmares, or Great Ones, to appear. This is our contract. In order to stop them, we must silence the harrowing cry. That also goes back to the line about a hunter is still a hunter, even in a dream. We stop the rituals in reality, but we must also stop them in this alternate plane of existence. A hunter must hunt. Whew. So, that's the basic story of Bloodborne, as I see it. Don't worry, baby. Look like a job for the Ghostbusters. We got this. See me checking out the symbolism up there. Just kind of looking around. But I believe Mergo was her child and has either ascended to become a Great One. Here we see, it's really interesting to see all of these chairs here with the Scroll of Mensis members here. They were contacting in reality. They were also contacting from the dream, but they're also dead here. I wonder if they are linked to the corpses in reality, or if even their dream versions have perished at this point. Maybe that's why they needed to create the one reborn. Not sure, but you see the baby carriage and all of these skulls and skeletons. It's something nasty. This way cometh. Mergo's wet nurse with all kinds of jewelry over her demonic form. I like to call this the fashion monster. But anyway, the strategy for this fight is pretty simple. You just dodge behind the wet nurse as much as possible and hit it. It does not hit hard for the most part. The only real danger in this fight is when it covers the area in darkness and makes clones of itself to attack. See there, me taking a hit and then just kind of regaining through it. You don't want to just stick around in front of it though, just kind of keep dodging forward and to the back. Some of those attacks can hit slightly behind it, so you do have to be mindful of that. This one in particular. 666 on the damage. But they don't hit very hard, so it's just really not that big a deal. Normally after about 70%, after it's lost about 30% of its health, it starts doing this darkness spell, but it waited a bit for me. Either way, it's no big issue. What you want to do, you just really kind of want to wait it out. I mean, there are different ways to handle it. You can try to stay aggressive if you like, but if you just wait it out and just kind of move in circles around the room like I'm doing right here, you can just dodge all of the attacks. The clones will warp around to attack you. So if you stand and try to fight, if you stay stationary for any period of time, you're going to get attacked from behind, basically, because the clones will warp around and attack you. But this being Mergo's wet nurse, for those of you guys who maybe don't have English as your first language or just haven't come across the term wet nurse before, this is a wet nurse is a woman who breastfeeds another woman's baby. So like woman A has a baby and then woman B gives it her breast milk to feed it. There are lots of reasons that you might do this. Normally Mother A can't make milk for whatever reason, has difficulties with that, but we see upon killing the wet nurse, the baby stops crying. And we get Nightmare slain. So at this point, we have done our job as a hunter. We have silenced the newborn, stopped its cry, and killed the nightmare. We also got this. This is the one that beckoned hunters to conceive the hunter's dream, the pale moon. This is the one where Willem sought the cord to elevate his being and thoughts. And we just got this final cord, well, not final, but we got this third cord that says, I'm going to flick to it, there we go. Every great one loses its child. This cord granted Mensis audience with Mergo, but resulted in the stillbirth of their brains. So, Mergo's wet nurse. Obviously a great one, a demon that nursed, so to speak, Mergo. And I'm saying that Yahar'gul's probably the child of Yahar'gul, just based off of the scene that you're about to see. A lot of people might have killed her accidentally when they went up to her, or may have just warped using that lamp without coming back down to see her. But if you do come back down here, you get this very interesting scene from the Queen, where she bows, basically thanking you for defeating the wet nurse and ending the nightmare and silencing the cry of what I believe is her baby. And that's the reason I believe it's her baby. Mergo may not be her baby. It may be that she's just reliving these events thanks to what's going on here. But, yeah. Also, very interesting that granted Mensis audience with Mergo. Mergo is not the name of the baby that Mensis used to lure the nightmares. Rather, they were granted audience with Mergo. Perhaps has ascended to being a full-fledged Great One?
good hunter. You have come. Dawn will soon break. This night and this dream will end. Gammon awaits you at the foot of the great tree.
And now that our job is done, the workshop is set aflame. Personally, I think that Gehrman has done this, but I mean, he's waiting for us at the foot of the tree. We actually can end the game at this point. We can go complete the last encounters. I'm not gonna do it today because there's still some extra stuff that we want to take care of before we finish the game, because we're trying to get all the lore and understand the story completely. And if you end the game at this point, you don't get the full picture. But Gehrman is waiting for us, and we will probably begin doing alternate endings soon. Next time's gonna be Ibratas, and maybe one of the alternate endings, maybe the bad ending, because I don't think many people are, I say bad ending, maybe one of the endings that I think people aren't going to get very often, because it's kind of the quote-unquote bad choice, I guess. Yeah, really interesting. Do note that unlike in Demon Souls, you can still level up and do stuff despite the fact that you're at the end of the game. Like, we can still access all of the facilities in the workshop. The only thing that's missing is going to be Gehrman, and, you know, whatever. It's just Gehrman. Motherfucker ain't never do nothing to me, no way. We can also buy that living string. It costs 10 insight to do so, but you can buy that now. I'm just stocking up on fire paper, bolt paper. Once you commit to something like the Rider Palace, it's basically a good idea to keep paper around. We're gonna finish up some side quests that we can do now. We see here immediately Arianna not in her normal chair.
Was it a beast? Or could someone from outside have come in and... I just don't know.
Sanctuary bro.
Was it a beast?
Freaking out still. And we see kind of a trail of blood moving away from her chair. If we go and try and question these two, we'll find that the situation really hasn't changed much from earlier. She's still high as a kite, and this guy...
Your lies spin a web, but I learned it.
He learned it all with his own mind, the internet. The natural thing to do is to follow these bloodstains. And maybe we can find what has become of Arianna. I warn you, this game is about to get even darker than you really ever thought it could be.
It can't be. This is a nightmare.
She has given birth to an alien baby. A little baby great one, similar to the ones that we found in the Upper Cathedral Ward. And when we kill it, we can get her shoes. Arianna's shoes. Of all the things, I done killed this bitch and stole her shoes. Shoes worn by Arianna, woman of the night in the Cathedral Ward, innocent and cute in contrast with its owner. More importantly, from her child, we can get 1/3 of an umbilical cord. Yes, we just killed her alien baby. and took the umbilical cord from it. That's the one that granted Mensis audience. Udin, the Formless Great One, is no different. To think it was corrupted blood that began this eldritch liaison. Udin also wants a surrogate child. And it's a pretty safe assumption that he has impregnated Arianna. It's not, you know, it's no guarantee at all, but to think it was corrupted blood that began this eldritch liaison. Very interesting that Arianna is connected to Cainhurst. We know that she has, she has that connection not only through the noble dress, but yeah, it just also the dialogues about her blood being similar to what is specifically forbidden by the old members. The old members of the church would know. That's actually her blood's description tells you that. So she's connected to the corrupted blood of Cainhurst. And corrupted blood is what began this eldritch liaison. So having corrupted blood is what enabled these women to begin giving birth to these alien babies. That's one way to look at this. And interesting too that Adela, who was jealous of Arianna, did not bear the child of a great one. In fact, I think she could not. I think she was jealous of Arianna's blood. If we read this once again, Udin writhe sees a subtle mucus, da-da-da-da. Human or no, the oozing blood is a medium of the highest grade and the essence of the formless great one Udin. But Udin and his inadvertent worshippers surreptitiously seek the precious blood, both Udin and his worshippers. Man. Basically, Udin was writhing within her brain, is what we're getting from this. And she was jealous of Arianna. Arianna actually became pregnant. Perhaps because she was here. Perhaps because she was in Udin Chapel. Maybe this is where the voice of Udin actually resides, and he has influence here. And once you bring a woman who has that special blood, that corrupted blood, she's actually able to become impregnated. I finally busted cap in this fool's ass. I've been wanting to do it the whole game. And we get nothing out of it. We get some blood cocktails, which, once again, with the kind of parallels between blood and alcohol, it kind of makes it seem like he's a drunk. This goes back to one of Eileen's dialogues where she says, talks about getting drunk off of blood. Unfortunately, and you may want to look away from the screen for a second, now Chapel Bro is terrified of us and will no longer speak to us. I'm so sorry for this. Look away, don't look. Please don't look.
I only wanted to be your friend.
I did it for the lore. Formless Udin. So we get an Udin rune from Chapel Bro. Interesting that even if he only wanted to be our friend, it could be that he was being manipulated by Udin as well. But, man. That dialogue also really interesting how much of a different meaning it has after you've done all this stuff in the game as opposed to doing it earlier in the game. If you kill him earlier in the game, you're like, oh, maybe he was a good guy. If you do it at this point in the game, you're like, I know he was a good guy. Here, we are finally going to go and we're going to kill Djura. Because there is, once again, some more lore. I know, I hate killing all these, like, cool, like, the good NPCs. Like, Sanctuary Bro, man, I really didn't want to have to do that, but I did it for you guys. We gotta get that lore. We gotta learn more about Udin and Kaz. Some say Kazum.
What is it? Surely I need not repeat myself. Go, I say. You have the whole night to dream. Make the best of it. Is it the blood, or are you just raving mad? When the frail of heart join the fray, the hunter becomes the hunted.
When the frail of heart join the fray, the hunter becomes the hunted. Those words are going to have a little bit more significance pretty soon. You can see how much easier Djura is at this point. He does very precious little damage to us, and we do a lot to him. I was trying not to kill him too fast to make sure I didn't skip any dialogues. It's the main reason I'm kind of dicking around with him here. Just don't fall off. Amazing what a few amazing what a big difference a few levels will make, huh? So long, Djura.
It's you. You're the beast. Just think about what you're doing. It's utter madness.
It's utter madness. We're killing humans that have succumbed to being beasts, although they've only really ended up in this situation because of the proximity of the moon. That said, I think this is part of being a hunter that Djura never got to, never really fully understood. We are also attempting to stop the moon from coming close. We are attempting to stop them from calling the Great Ones so that humans don't become beasts. Bye-bye to Djura's ally. Alright. Oh, man. We're just killing everybody. Killing everybody. Stealing their shoes. Shooting people and taking their shoes. Real life simulator. Now we can actually get our Djura lore, though. Like, I've been talking about this stuff as if we already knew it, but actually we have to get it. We can do it from the inside shop now that he's dead. Retired hunter Djura. Djura is known through his contact with the powder kegs, the heretics of the workshop. He is said to have been both uncommonly kind and dreadfully foolish. Djura felt defeated by the state of Old Yharnam and renounced his hunter's vows. Renounced his vows as a hunter. And I also think it's interesting to note, I think there are different types of hunters. I think there are hunters who have a contract with the Dream, and then there are hunters who are have just taken up the battle, like been recruited by the church in kind of a general sense, but maybe do not have the rune etched on their brains. That's just my thoughts on the matter as to why the normal huntsmen are kind of so piss poor, and then there are special hunter NPCs. I'm gonna go ahead and stock up while we're here. Y'all, I am Marcus, also known as ENB, and I will catch you on the next Yahar'gul FM, where we are going to take down a great one. A real great one. A real great one. Later, y'all.